In the vast, dark expanse of the cosmos, Sovereign Malus sat upon his grand throne, a symbol of his immense empire that stretched across multiple galaxies. Before him, the shimmering, crystalline table displayed the progress of his latest conquest in real time, projecting an unfolding battlefield thousands of light years away. Leaning back against the plush, ornately embroidered cushions of his throne, he allowed himself a small, gleeful smile. He was nearing his favorite moment. Hundreds of wars, thousands of planets, each conquest had led to the same end. The enemy's spirit, once unbreakable, would finally shatter under his carefully constructed strategy. It was never a matter of victory. By the time his plan reached this phase, victory was inevitable. He didn't savor winning. He savored breaking. He zoomed the display in on a remote star system, bringing the view down to the only habitable planet there, a young colony settled by the humans, a species new to the interstellar scene. They called this planet Sable, a name with little meaning to him, and yet he found himself mildly curious about these humans. They were a curious species, descendants of primates, with dexterous 5-digit hands and a lean, predator-inspired physique. They had adapted quickly, showing an uncanny ability to organize and strategize, almost enjoying their resistance to his forces. But now, after years of invasion and relentless attacks, Sable would be their breaking point. This would be the planet where their stubborn pride would falter, where their resolve would crumble, and they would be driven to desperation and ultimately submission. They had no choice. He'd ensured that their strategies, however clever, would all lead to one end: defeat. His gaze settled on the human commander, a woman on the battlefield who wore a small, hammer-shaped pendant around her neck, a curious talisman from her culture, seemingly crafted as a homage to one of their warrior gods. Malus chuckled to himself, his smile deepening. These humans had no idea what was coming. With a flick of his hand, he gave the order to summon their deities. The skies above Sable split open, and from the swirling storm clouds descended a chariot pulled by two enormous, thundering beasts that resembled goats, each step shaking the ground below. The chariot's driver, a towering figure wielding a hammer wrapped in lightning, seemed to fill the very air with power. Malus watched the human commander's expression, first disbelief, then sudden comprehension, and finally sheer horror, as she realized that the god she worshipped, the one symbolized by her pendant, was fighting alongside her enemy. It wasn't long before another figure emerged on the battlefield, a war god in bronze armor with a colossal shield and a spear that towered over him. This second deity, an ancient figure from their mythologies, fought alongside the thunder god, raining devastation upon the humans' lines. The look of betrayal and despair in the human commander's eyes, as she witnessed her gods forsake her people, was exquisite. Malus leaned forward, savoring the scene. He had perfected this strategy over centuries, using the power of deities to break the spirit of his enemies. Generations ago, Malus's father had uncovered a secret. Gods, weakened by the diminishing faith of their followers, could be manipulated, even bought. It began when the scientists and priests of his father's kingdom discovered that these divine beings, once sustained by the devotions of their followers, had grown frail as belief waned. The gods had become starved, desperate for worship and reverence. And so Malus's father had struck a bargain. He would rebuild the temples, restore the shrines, and spread their names across the stars in exchange for the power to summon and command them. Over time, Malus refined his father's methods. He expanded his empire and acquired more gods, pulling from a vast array of species, each with its own pantheon. His scholars studied the histories, names, and attributes of every forgotten deity, painstakingly collecting each one to form his divine army. Whenever he encountered a new civilization, he would offer the local gods his terms: power, fame, and followers beyond anything they'd known, if they turned against their own people. Almost all accepted his offer, and so, by the time he reached the humans, he had amassed a legion of gods, ready to destroy their former worshippers on his command. This strategy had never failed him. Even the most resilient races had crumbled when their gods became their enemies. Malus relished that moment of broken faith, when his enemies saw their gods become weapons in his hands. It was, to him, the ultimate form of conquest. But the humans reacted differently than he expected. Instead of surrendering in despair, they responded with a brutal and unexpected counterattack. A command was issued, and the human fleet circling above Sable released an orbital nuclear strike upon their own planet. Flames and radiation engulfed the battlefield, wiping out both human and godly forces, while the survivors were swiftly evacuated. The gods, tainted by the deadly radiation, would be forced to remain dormant for centuries before they could return. Stunned by the humans' audacity, Malus stormed into his summoning chamber, his mind reeling with frustration. Summoning a group of his most powerful allies, ancient gods from various civilizations, he demanded answers. "Explain to me why the humans fight even their own gods." One deity suggested that the humans' only option had been to challenge their own deities as a final act of defiance. Another nodded, remarking that humans, with their boundless determination, might simply have wished to see if their gods were mortal after all. But Malus, infuriated by their empty explanations, dismissed them and issued new orders. He would conscript millions more soldiers, a fresh wave, to join the gods in a relentless assault on the humans. He was brooding in his throne room, contemplating his next move, when he noticed a lone figure enter. This was no god he recognized, nor one he had summoned. The figure resembled a human woman, but she was draped in a material unlike anything Malus had ever seen, a garment woven from the very fabric of existence, shimmering and unfathomable. Her hair fell in dark waves, and her face was soft, ageless, and radiating calm. She walked directly toward him, disregarding his guards and attendants, her gaze steady and serene. "Who are you?" Malus demanded, feigning indifference but deeply unsettled. "How did you get in here?" She stopped a few paces from his throne and regarded him with eyes that seemed to contain the cosmos itself. "You do not know me," she replied, her voice a gentle melody that filled the vast room. "I have come because you do not know the power you tamper with." Scoffing, Malus dismissed her as another rogue deity. "Give me your name, so we may discuss terms," he said, his voice laced with disdain. Her expression remained placid, unaffected by his scorn. "I have no need for bargains, nor a name for you to summon. I am beyond what you understand. My purpose here is simple: to warn you, withdraw your forces from the humans, or face consequences that even you cannot anticipate." At her words, he laughed. "My conquests are inevitable. This war will end as they all have ended, and my empire will expand by an entire galaxy. You are in no position to threaten me." The woman's serene face did not falter. She gestured, and in an instant, one of his most powerful deities, a storm god with a lightning spear, materialized beside her. The god hurled his weapon at her, a bolt of raw power that should have annihilated any mortal or deity alike. Yet the lightning bolt dissolved against her with no effect. The storm god, eyes wide with sudden comprehension, dropped to his knees before her. His colleagues, other powerful gods, appeared and followed suit, each bowing reverently. Realization dawned on Malus as he gazed at the woman. She was no mere deity. She was something far more ancient and powerful, an embodiment of life itself. "You misunderstand the nature of gods and life," she said softly. "Gods did not create life. They were born from it. Life is a seed that blooms and grows, while gods are but branches, frail and dependent." She looked directly at him, her gaze piercing through him, her voice calm yet resonant. "I have existed in every galaxy you have conquered. I kept the humans apart, isolated in their own galaxy, because I wanted to see them grow, and grow they have into something beyond what you, or even their gods, could fathom. They are not like other beings who bow to gods. They were created to become gods." He felt his heart race as he watched her, his mind struggling to comprehend the depth of her power. She continued, revealing to him a vision of a distant future. Humanity, triumphant, standing as gods themselves, towering over the ruins of his empire. She showed him the end, where even the gods he had summoned would fall to these resilient beings. "The humans do not seek salvation through faith," she whispered, her voice echoing in his mind. "They do not wait for gods to protect them. They fight because they know survival lies in their own hands. They will endure, and they will rise above all who sought to break them." As the vision faded, Malus felt his confidence shatter. This entity was beyond anything he had known, and the future she showed him was undeniable. She turned to leave, her presence fading like a distant star. "Withdraw your forces," she said one last time, "or face a reckoning as vast as the cosmos." And then she was gone, leaving Malus alone in the crushing silence of his throne room, haunted by the knowledge that he had awakened a force that even he could not conquer.